Hello and welcome to Some Dude Shed. It's Friday, so we'll do the news. And in the news this week,
Woman who sold her farts now makes 5k per day. Oh, selling boob sweat.
goodness me, bong.
Disgust every time you say that. Johnny Depp wins defamation trial.
Bong. DeLorean unveiled new concept car. Bong. Is that the end of the news?
I don't have another one.
Okay, well I guess that's it then.
Are we talking about the Jubilee as well? It's happening. The Jubilee is happening.
I suppose so. I mean, the news in that regard is the Queen is still alive and doing what she does. So there you go.
Celebrating 70 years on
70 years on the
throne.
On the big chair.
God save the Queen.
Absolutely.
God help her.
That'll do. Right. So, moving on. Shall we start off with the biggest news story? I suppose that might be the Johnny Depp one, I suppose.
I don't know. I'd argue that DeLorean. I think the DeLorean is still around. Anyway, yeah, Johnny Depp. So I think if you're living under a rock, that'd be the only way you haven't heard about the defamation trials been going on for like a number of weeks in Virginia between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
You been following it at all, or?
I've heard of it, but within one sentence, can you sum it up?
Johnny won. There's just so much shit happened. It was almost like a play.
From my understanding, Amber Heard said that Johnny did some mean things.
Yeah, well,
but it turns out he didn't.
Well, what she ended up doing was she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post, basically saying that it was basically like a hit piece.
It wasn't really a hit piece, was it? It was more of a. She said something along the lines of, "and sufferers of domestic violence like myself," or something, wasn't it? It was something along those lines, and that implied that Johnny was a bad man. But
yeah, pretty much.
He disputed this, right?
Yeah, it was just towards. It was after. I'm pretty sure it was after the lawsuit in the UK ended.
Mm-hmm.
And so she went ahead and wrote this op-ed basically saying, been a survivor of domestic and sexual abuse, blah, blah. And yeah, he was arguing, well, this is clearly directed towards me, so I'm going to sue her for 50 mil. And it basically came down to jury deliberation. It took about just under a week to do it. And it came back. There were a total of 7 questions. Like, is she guilty of this? Did she do that? Did she do this? And there were also 3 instances of defamation. So I think it was like 3 different sort of publications that she also wrote in, including the Washington Post. And she was also found guilty of defamation in all 3. And also found guilty of actual malice, which is like really bad. Which I think that opens up the door for, perjury, for actually lying in the court.
Well, anyway, so there's a reason we're covering it on this podcast. So were there any highlights to the trial? Any funny highlights?
Oh, yes. So the alpaca thing was brought up.
What's the alpaca thing?
There was a Disney executive came on, and Amber Heard's lawyer actually, he went on record saying that he felt betrayed by Disney, and the only reason he'd work with them again is if he was paid $100 million and also paid with 1,000 alpacas. And Amber Heard's lawyer actually asked the Disney lawyer, is this like, did he actually, ask you for $100 million and 1,000 alpacas? And the Disney representative had to, you could see her sort of having to take a drink to try and stop herself from laughing. And Amber Heard also brought on this psychologist who looked like Doc Brown from Back to the Future. And he was
right.
He was on something. Like, he was like a Dr. Frankenstein character, and he was like all manic and all over the show, constantly arguing with Johnny's lawyers and just going off on tangents. And he said a couple of things like, one of the things he was having to go with as proof of reduction in his cognitive ability, he had to wear an earpiece and it was fed his lines. But then Johnny's lawyer says, well, there's many actors has that done. Did you know that, what do you call that guy?
I know Bruce Willis has had it done.
Godfather. And Apocalypse Now, and big actor. He played the "Look how massacred my boy." Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then he played the insane colonel. In
Apocalypse
Now.
What the fuck's his name? It's completely left me.
He's a really big actor. Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, yes. Johnny Depp is actually really good friends with Marlon Brando, but he's like, were you aware that Marlon Brando had an earpiece in? And then the doctor's like, isn't he dead? And then Johnny just fucking buries his hands in his face, like, what the fuck? Like, he died back in 2004 or something. And just find it really disrespectful. Like, as if I think he tried to make his own lawyer look stupid. But
All I know about Marlon Brando is you can't see California without Marlon Brando's eyes.
you can't.
Apparently not.
And he basically apparently he based Johnny's acting ability on just watching Pirates of the Caribbean, just on pirate films. And he was like, and you know what he's like in that film? He's like sort of stumbling around. He's all like, ooh, you know, all weird. And he's like, so you base his acting ability just on pirate films? And he's like, have you ever seen Charlie? And his lawyer says, have you ever seen Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? He pauses. He looks over at the judge, and then he starts like doing this weird like sort of smacking his lips and like licking his teeth and everything.
Right.
And then Johnny just sort of like he just like just the look on his face. And everyone's like looking at this guy as if, what the fuck is this guy on? Like, is this guy a fucking cokehead or something? But just some of the accusations from Amber Heard were ridiculous. Like, she had her, like, Johnny's lawyer says that, you know, Amber Heard gave her best performance of her career, which was on the stand. Like, just the trying her best to cry, and like not a single tear showing.
Stepped on a bee.
Her like her claims she was having a bad day and her dog stepped on a bee and everything, and like just some of the accusations. Like, apparently he like used a bottle on her, forcibly used like a wine bottle on her.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah,
Did
and
he?
she's like, she didn't know if it was broken or not. You know, which I'm pretty sure you would know if like a broken object was being put in you.
Uh-huh.
Like, just yeah, it was a whole circus. But I followed the entire thing.
And how much was Mr. Depp awarded them?
Well, it was 15 million he was awarded, but because it was in Virginia, there's a cap. So I think he only has to pay her about 8 million. She was awarded 2 million, but I think that works out maybe 800,000 for her. Johnny has to pay her. But now Amber Heard's lawyer, which is quite good, because like whenever during the trial, you know the video that came out, the TMZ video, where he's like slamming the cupboards in the kitchen. Well, an ex-TMZ employee came on, and he was like the in-between guy between the videos coming in, the editing the videos, and then the news desk.
Right.
And he pretty much says, well, that video was edited. Because there's a part at the end of that video, the original video, where she picks up the camera and she's almost like laughing, like smiling into the camera, which clearly indicates that she staged to like set this up. And she tried to stage it where he was like angry at her. But what actually happened was that morning he found out that he was being embezzled lots of money, and that he pretty much lost like $600 million from like
600 million?
yeah.
Didn't think Johnny Depp was that rich.
Or was it maybe 60 million? Might have been 60 million, but just lots of millions from, I don't know if it was like a manager or an accountant, but it was something like that. Just embezzled lots of money, but he found that out that morning. But again, she tried to plan it like her. But this TMZ guy basically went on and says, well, this video is clearly edited. And he couldn't say who the source was for the video. But pretty much, you know, he was asked how long does it take for a video to come in to then be published. And he says, well, we pretty much own the copyright as soon as somebody sends it in directly through our email, because then we can assume copyright because it's like an original video. So it has to be an original source, and the source is said to have come directly from Amber's team, quote.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't say who the source was, but pretty much it was sent directly to him. It didn't come from like an original news outlet or nothing. It didn't come from Daily Mail or, you know, anywhere else. So it pretty much means that Amber Heard or Amber Heard's team sent it in, and she under oath, she said that she didn't send it in on the stand. And Amber Heard's lawyer also turned around to the guy and says, you know, have you been following this trial? Like, this is a very highly publicized trial. You've been watching it on TV and everything. He says, yeah. And she goes, so, you know, this is your 15 minutes of fame. And which is ironic because Amber Heard's lawyer is now doing the news TV circuit, going on TV, like different channels, and pretty much saying that, you know, this is a major setback for women, this result. And, you know, pretty much that Amber Heard's going to appeal the decision.
Oh, it seems like more it's just a big setback for liars.
Pretty much, yeah. But the thing is, I think she has to appeal, because the only other alternative is just to file for bankruptcy, because she just bought like a big house and she can't afford to pay for the house.
No, and she
And
probably
pay
won't
Johnny.
be able to as well, because I imagine her career is probably over now.
Yeah, pretty much. There's actually a petition to take her out of Aquaman 2, and it's reached 4.5 million in the last day.
I don't really care about superhero movies that much.
Well, she'll never get a sponsorship deal again.
No?
Because as soon as that goes onto any social media with
Mhm.
her in it, they'll be like, what is this person doing in this? And then the brand's just going to be like, we don't know.
The thing is, too, what would you do if you were Johnny Depp? Like, you were dropped by Disney just based on accusations. like, and he says he just felt really betrayed by Disney and Warner Brothers. So he says, like he said, only 100 million, 100 alpacas or 1,000 alpacas, but I'm pretty sure he's being tongue in cheek about it. Like, I don't think, like, would you go back?
If I was Johnny Depp, I probably wouldn't want to do that. I'd probably end up maybe starting my own production house, working with independent directors because he's got so much money. He could definitely fund at least a few films.
Yeah, and he's also definitely got the connections.
Yeah, and end up making better films as well because
Like, he's done other films that weren't, to my knowledge, that weren't Disney and Warner Brothers, and they were really good. Like, he was in Public Enemies. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Public Enemies, it was like
John Dillinger.
Dillinger, yeah, played him. And he was in Black Mass as well. It's like a gangster film, which apparently was alright.
Yeah, I wasn't too big on that.
But there was, he's been in quite a few films that were, so he could do well just independently.
Yeah.
Like,
And the point of lying under oath,
yeah, that's
that
perjury.
That Miss Heard could get criminal charges. I noticed they haven't mentioned. Do you remember the photograph of her supposedly being injured?
Which one? There's like a bunch of them.
Yeah, well, do you remember the guy came on, the forensics expert,
Yeah, yeah.
and said, what was it? It had been ran through a program.
Yeah, so he analysed a whole bunch of photographs, the ones that were in Evans anyway. And
See, you have hard evidence there of
Yeah.
you've submitted false evidence to the court. Like, that's a pretty easy thing to nail somebody on.
yeah, because like there's the metadata on the photographs, but then there's also like I think it's called the XR. I'm not too sure exactly, but X something. And he says, well, it tells you when where this photo was last formatted, and pretty much it was like iPhoto, 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 which means it's been ran through iPhoto and saved again, which it pretty much indicates that it's been edited. And also there's a photograph that was submitted twice into Evans, I think probably by accident, or unless maybe Johnny's lawyer submitted it. But it was basically the same picture twice, and Amber Heard said, no, those are two different pictures, because in one photo her face is like darker, and there's a stronger saturation of color and everything, because she has a big red bruise in her cheek. And she says, no, there's two separate photos, because there's like a vanity mirror light has been turned on. That's why it looks different. There's like a warmer hue. And whenever Johnny's lawyers pulled up the photos again, side by side, exact same pose, the hair is exactly the same, and the metadata is then brought up. And this is whenever Amber Heard's like photograph forensic expert came on, and pretty much there's claims that he lied under oath as well, because he says they're two separate photos. Johnny's lawyer brings up the metadata for both, and it says in the metadata these photos were taken at the exact same day, the exact same hour, exact same minute, exact same second, which means they're not two separate photos of the same photo, and one has been edited because it was put through iPhoto. So it's clearly been adjusted, which made Amber Heard look really, really bad. Like, that was probably another one of the most damaging things against her.
I'll move on to something a little bit lighter.
Yes.
Sure.
All right. So, and now for something completely different. Delorean, the amazing car maker from Northern Ireland, is say they're going to make a new car for 2024.
I thought Delorean were closed down or finished.
Well, kind of, but not really. The story of DeLorean is actually quite long. They shut down in the 80s, but in the 90s, some guy in Texas bought all the assets and everything, and I think still makes parts and stuff out of his plant in Texas now. So there's a Delorean car company there, and I think they are the ones who are who have come up with this concept.
Do you have a photo?
Yep. I sent you an article. Sent the article in the group chat there. It's the Bloomberg one. The idea is it's going to be a fully electric car. It's going to come out in 2024, and it's going to be one of those modern fast electric cars with a 0 to 60 time of something like 2.5 seconds. So the guy behind this concept is a guy called Joost de Vries. I'm not entirely sure.
Is he French?
I don't know. He sounds Dutch. Is he?
I have no idea.
I don't know. But yeah, he's kind of got a mixed history. He's been around a lot of car companies. So he's recently worked at a Chinese company, and then they bought Fisker. Fisker made a Fisker Karma, which was an electric car that didn't do very well just before Tesla got big.
I'm pretty sure they're making the new Popemobile.
Fisker?
Pretty sure they are.
Huh.
I'm 90% sure they are.
Oh, well, Fisker got bankrupt, went bankrupt in 2014. So maybe it's another company with a similar name.
Oh, okay.
And then he's also worked for Tesla themselves at some point, and Tesla are very successful.
Never heard of them.
They make some electric runabouts
No,
here and there.
Can I say something?
What's that?
no.
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I don't like it now.
No.
The Tesla Cybertruck looks more like
It
a
looks more
DeLorean
like a
design.
DeLorean, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if this was in silver, okay, but like they should have made it boxy. It's too smooth and rounded.
You're right. I think it is too smooth and rounded.
Oh.
It's not even made of stainless steel.
If Tesla make the Cyber car, just not a truck, but like just make it shorter and more saloony looking,
Yeah.
it would look way more like a DeLorean than this.
Oh, absolutely. And they've got a few things right with this concept. I think. I mean, they've got the doors which open upwards.
Yeah, little lights in the front of them too. Like,
Yeah, I quite like the look of it. I think it's quite a nice looking car. I don't think it necessarily looks like a DeLorean though.
it looks more like a Tesla than a DeLorean,
Yeah, it does.
just with the opening up wingy doors. What do you call those?
Gull wing doors.
Gull wing doors.
So yeah, this concept is called the Alpha 5, and you can register your interest on the DeLorean website. So I guess they're seeing how many people are interested in it, so then they can just go ahead and build it.
No price point yet?
Not by the looks of things, no.
I reckon they'll price the shit out of it to
Oh, yeah.
capitalize on the DeLorean name, because DeLorean name is legendary. Like Tesla should make a cybercar.
What is it with all these modern cars? You know the way they're replacing the old speed dials and rev counters behind on the dash?
Yeah.
They're just all replacing it with screen now. But they've done a terrible job. Like, I haven't seen a decent looking one where it's actually integrated the screen into the dash properly, and it just predominantly looks crap. It's usually just, like, a lot of them are screens that just sit up from the dash.
Just prefer dials. What's wrong with dials?
Well, I prefer the dials, but it's the fact that they haven't actually made a concerted effort to integrate the screen into the dash and just make it look
Yeah.
like it's
Well,
supposed to be there.
From what I can see, there are no interior pictures of this new DeLorean, which is a.
Are you
which is a
talking about like
shame.
the sun shield on top of them, or just what do you mean?
Well, if you look at that photo there, you can see it's just like sitting up from the dash.
Basically, just not very pretty. You're asking about price point. Back in 1982, when the first DeLorean came out, it was £25,000, which is in inflation is about £70,000 now. So
Wow.
it's
So it's going to be expensive.
going to be quite an expensive car, probably along the lines of a Mercedes or something.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Well, so some cars do have the dash built in quite well.
Well, Mercedes definitely has one of them. It just looks like two iPads stuck together.
The higher end Range Rovers have done it well too. Like
Oh, that's
Ooh.
rubbish.
Tesla as well. Did Tesla not have like a massive middle panel too?
Yeah, they were
As
the
well as
first.
the
they
built
just
in.
They were the first ones to do it. They were all screen on the inside.
Mm.
Mm.
The center console screen on the Tesla is nice, but I'm talking about the dials behind the wheel.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I don't know why they don't just make simple cars. You know, why bother with all this fancy screen stuff? Why can't we just? Why is there no car company that makes just something as basic as possible?
But screens are that cheap now. It's pretty much is basic. Like,
Yeah, I
you know what I mean?
suppose.
It's getting cheaper and just easier to program. Plus dials can be off, not all the time, but like
So basically, our verdict then on the new DeLorean concept.
prefer Tesla.
I prefer the old DeLorean.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I agree with both of those statements. Yeah, I like the old DeLorean. Look cool.
Just wait for the cyber car. I'll call it now. Call it's gonna happen.
Maybe.
But then maybe DeLorean would be like, that's too much. That's too much like the DeLorean.
Sooner or later, one of these days, a car company is going to come up with a car concept that actually looks nice. You know, I mean, you've seen what happened to BMWs recently. All their newest cars are really out there.
Mm.
Yeah, the new BMW grill is awful looking.
Yeah,
It is. It's like, I don't know, the grill's puckering up for a kiss. It's just terrible looking.
yeah. To be honest, I think BMWs have been getting uglier since the 80s, but that's like steadily until now. But the recent concepts have just been horrible.
Like, do you not think as we progress into electric vehicles and stuff, do you not think it'd be weird not having a rev counter anymore?
It'd be weird with the car not making noise.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I was outside the hospital recently, and I was just as I was walking in, a fucking car just rolls up beside me. Now I looked and everything, but it rolled up, and I didn't hear it coming because it was electric. It was only when it was right beside me, I heard the tire sort of rolling on the gravel. And I was just like, why aren't you making noise?
It's cool. Well, just think whenever, I mean, I'm sure there were some people who were really into steam cars. And whenever they got a petrol car for the first time, it's like, where's the pressure gauge?
Remember when hydrogen was a big thing?
Yeah, everybody thought hydrogen was gonna be the fuel of the future.
Like you put a hydrogen cell in and...
Yeah, they still haven't figured out the basic problems of hydrogen, like how to get it efficiently and store it efficiently, and make sure it doesn't blow up the country when you have a car crash. Moving on, Mr. Red, what have you found?
Well, whenever you get ready for work in the morning.
Nope.
Yeah.
When you get ready for work in the morning, you dress up nice.
Have a wank.
Relieve the stress before you go in. You put your casual office outfit on, or you put your uniform on, or whatever it is you need to do, and then you look in the mirror and you have to apply your clown makeup, because you're a fool for going and working for a pittance when there is people out there selling their boob sweat for $5,000 a day.
Selling their what, sorry?
Their boob sweat for $5,000 a day.
Sweat.
Some of the girls walking around, you think they have clown makeup on? Just caked on.
So, okay. Who is this?
Well, you may remember the woman who sold her farts in a jar.
Is that the one who went to hospital?
She had to go to hospital because of her dad. No.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember her.
She has now ventured into selling her boob sweat.
Brilliant.
Does she have boobs?
Yeah, she has pretty big boobs.
Right.
That always helps when it comes to making the sweat.
Yeah, so Stephanie Manto, actress of 90 Day Fiancé, has created another unusual side business after making a fortune selling farts in a jar. She is now selling bottleless boob sweat. And it turns out that there is another money-making aspect in the saga, with the diva gaining a second win with another source of cash via her body excretions. The 31-year-old, who had to halt the sales of her Flatus due to a heart attack scare in January, came up with the new venture just in time for summer, and it's already proving extremely profitable. Yeah, so basically she's just selling little vials or her boob sweat for, and she's making about $5,000 a day apparently.
How is it legal to sell? It's literally like biohazard, like bio waste. Like how is that legal to do that?
I don't know. How big are these bottles? How much? Surely you can't be filling a bottle with sweat. That's
How do you collect boob sweat anyway?
disgusting.
The bottle is, if the doctor gives you a vial and tells you, right, you need to go pee in this for a test.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those. Basically what it looks like.
There's no way it's boob sweat. I don't believe it.
I reckon it's probably, if it is sweat, it's probably just like she works out really hard and then gets her workout gear and then just, crunches the sweat out of it and drops a bit into the vial, and that's about it.
If she's got a boyfriend, she probably collects his as well. It's like, yeah, this is mine.
Yeah. Or, I don't know, she gets a bit of water, rubs it under her armpit, and then dubs it into the vial. There you go. Smells. Boob sweat.
Who's buying this?
Perverts and degenerates.
Mainly really, really, really sad people. Desperate people.
But how sad can they be when they've clearly they have enough money to spend how much on a bottle?
It doesn't actually tell you how much a vial is. She just makes $5,000 a day doing it. So
$5,000 a day.
The fart jars went for $1,000 ago.
Well, that gives you an idea. So let's say the little bottles of sweat are also $1,000. Who's got enough money to spend on that?
See, you can't really blame her though, can you, for making that much cash?
Don't blame the player, blame the game.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, that is here. It's $500.
$500.
Yes,
that was a bargain. Yeah, it's.
I wish I was a woman.
You don't blame. Yeah, you don't blame the player in this situation. It's the people who are buying the sweat. They're the freaks in this situation.
Well, so yes, actually, there's a quote here. I try to drink a lot of water and sit as much in direct sunlight as I can. I like to call myself the human maple tree and the boob sweat my sap. I sat there and collected my sap the same way a maple tree does. Once she like sticks this metal thing in her tit and
like chops a bit away with an axe.
I just picture, like the sweatsuit in it's like one of the Jackass films. Preston's on the treadmill, the big fat guy, and he's wearing like the big sweatsuit and he's collecting it all.
That was like full body sweat.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and it was from a pretty fat dude. I mean,
let's face it, it's not boob sweat. It's like just whatever sweat she can get her hands on.
Whatever sweat it is, it's rotten.
Once again, her unusual business enterprise comes with risks, and spending too much time in the sun is not good for one's health. But Steph says she's taking precautions to protect herself. I'm also trying to practice this craft as safely as possible with a proper SPF moisturizer. However, after this past week, I have learned that a simple SPF 30 won't cut it, since I did burn my chest quite badly.
She's going to go into hospital again. It's going to happen.
With boob sweat, I want to do the right thing. I want to be smart, Start
Huh.
off slow and sustainable growth. That doesn't overwhelm my body.
I want to be smart.
She needs a sauna in the house.
Yeah, so basically she just sits in the sun and any bit of sweat it drips off her. She from her breasts, obviously.
I'm pretty sure you can get heat stroke in the sauna as well.
She just collects it up in the vial and ships it off for $500 a go.
I had syrup the other day.
On the subject of saunas, did you ever hear there's a sauna competition? Competitive sauna sitting.
Is it based on temperature or time?
It's temperature and time. They're all a load of guys in a sauna. And it just gets hotter and hotter until they either give up or they die. And whoever's left at the end wins.
What do they win?
I don't know. Honor, I suppose.
Free trip to the hospital. Right. Oh, on that sad note.
Guys, I think I'm going to go back in my spaceship and go back to my home planet. This is just too bad.
It's hard to be annoyed at her because people are paying her for this stupid thing.
Yeah.
So you might as well. I'm more angry at the people who pay for it.
But then is there not like an exploitation argument? Like she's exploiting desperate, lonely, well, mainly desperate men.
They're the ones who are letting themselves get exploited. If they can't see that they're getting exploited when they pay $500 for a little bit of somebody else's sweat, they're the ones with the problem.
You see, I suppose this is just creepy. It's not like desperate, lonely men. Like, you don't know, like, you get these, like, internet titty streamers and all.
Yeah.
They're like, you know...
I just really hope for her sake that her address is private. Nobody knows where she lives, because there's going to be some serious creeps who
well, if anyone's insane enough to buy that, yeah, you don't really want them to know where you live.
No.
Well, sure. Was there not an event recently, like a streamer event? I don't know, it's like TwitchCon or whatever it was called. But basically, there's a couple of women that pretty much didn't go because they were like, yeah, security reasons, I didn't really want to go. Because they've like 10 stalkers.
Yeah, I imagine that if you get a lot of people following you, I mean, eventually you're going to see some creeps.
Reminds me of a few months ago, there was it was either an Instagram influencer, inverted quotes, or a TikToker influencer, inverted quotes. A stalker, she was only like 14 or 15 or something, but the stalker tracked her down to where she lives and he tried to break into the house and her dad shot him dead. So, yeah.
Fuck.
I suppose that ended happily.
Well, yeah, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. So there's a moral to this story. Kids, if you have internet, don't use it.
Or kids, if you have internet, parents supervise what you fucking do.
Parents just don't buy internet.
Right. Well, the world's shit. Let's end this.
Goodbye, humanity.
Bye.